Hello everybody. In this video we're going to continue working in our Node.js application API, and we're going to be using Prisma to connect to the database itself. Which database? The one that we created in the previous video, the Postgres database itself. If you will read that, it's actually really simple, really cool to use, and a lot simpler to do those SQL statements that I was not able to do on top of my mind. And again, sorry for that. But the idea about Prisma is one of the best ORM exists on the market. ORM stands for Object Role Modeling, and it's in reality just a model for semantic that is usually often used for data modeling and software engineering. Pretty much we create an object in our code, and that object represents tables in the database itself. That's pretty much the idea that we're going to try or do. So, without anything else to say, let's actually get started. What is pretty cool about Prisma is not only handles the database itself, also handles the migration. The migration are the steps in order to create the tables or change the structure of our database itself regarding creating the tables, adding columns, modifying columns, things like that. And it has its own language. And we will see that we actually use something called a Prisma file. It's not that complicated. I will showcase that really easy. I will do a really quick modeling of our directory app where we are going to be saving the information in the API itself, and of course through the database. Something really cool about that part, also about the migration, that it actually helps us in development environment, and actually it's recommended to do in development environment. In production environment, it's recommended to do a different approach regarding probably extracting your database structure, importing where it's supposed to go in the production database, and you should have different environments, right? Test, development tests, and production, or staging and production. In this case, just to simplify, we're going to use the same database for development and for production in this case, in order not to consume that much resources from your server. And the idea that we actually exported that port, the 9000 port, is to be able to do a local connection to that particular server itself. Now, we can actually, after we finish and we deploy, we can remove. It's a best practice to actually have the database not be able to connect to the outside, so that way only your deployer app will be the one who actually handles the connection itself. Something that's so really cool about this is those strong typing version. What it does is those objects have different representations, and it's easy to type or to handle as a particular. So those tables as a particular objects. And we can actually define and we have some methods or function that will help us get that information. For example, we will create the person database, the person table, and in the person we can actually do person database person find many in order to find a number of find unique, for example, and then we can actually do queries like where this is equals something else, and things like that. You will see through the process, and then I will do some relationship. I want to create the person table, and I want to create the comments table, where the different comments itself actually you can actually do probably the department tables. Yeah, probably we can use let's do let's keep the comment in the person table, and let's do a department and a company database, sorry, table, and then we can actually do the mapping and how to actually work through the app. And it will be that's actually really simple and really cool to do. So without anything else to do, let's just get started. So the first thing, I have my project already open. I open my terminal here at the bottom to be a little faster, and I have my files on the left. The first thing that we need to do, we need to install npm install as a development That's the dash C as a development dependency. We need to install Prisma. And after we have Prisma installed, we just need to execute something like this: npx Prisma init. So we're going to initialize our database connection, and we do the data source provider dash data source provider PostgreSQL. That will, when we execute that, you will see the first thing that will happen is now we have a Prisma folder here with a schema.prisma. This Prisma have a generator, and that's the cool thing because the generator is actually the clients that we need to install later in order to consume to the app. So the Prisma area is just for the migration itself and to define the objects, and the client will be then to consume this data, and I will showcase that in a minute. So for now, just let's keep it this as it is. We can see that the provider, the PostgreSQL, and the URL is using an env variable, and it has its own. It doesn't use the process.env, but it uses this schema called env database URL. One of the things that you will define, that you will see here, I have that one right here, is that the database URL was pushed or was created in my file. Now you will say, well, where this actually came from? Probably yours is a lot different. More likely it is. So let me show you where it is. And I'm showing my passwords here. That's okay. In the moment when this video will be out, I will have another connection string. Don't worry about that. But let me show you how to actually get this. So let's go to Coolify. We open the configuration for the database, remember, in the dashboard. Go to database and open the PostgreSQL database itself. And we have a connection string here. That's the pretty cool thing. Just open it and we copy that over. And pretty much we paste it inside the double quotes. Now you see they actually changed a little bit the one that I had before. That's okay. This is what it does is doing the protocol PostgreSQL to connect with this username, with this password, at this server, and this is the one that we need to change right now, at this port, and this is the database name. That's pretty much what we're saying. Now, the server itself is, in my case, is my Coolify server. So it's my panel.rodoroman.com, and that should be it. That should be the one that I should have here. Now, in order not to forget about this, I would like to add it to my env example. Let me just copy my database URL, put it in my env example, and let me just remove the content because I don't want to save any content there. So I know exactly what I need to put whenever I need to deploy this particular one. Cool. So right now we have the schema Prisma. That's in the provider, and the URL is the one that we just copy from Coolify. We have a package.json where we install it, or Prisma instance itself, and we have the schema Prisma itself here. So let's do a simple model, and everything that I'm actually showcasing, you can see it on the Prisma documentation. If we go to the documentation itself, we can actually go to getting started. We can actually see the schema here. And we can see different models and what we can do through those particular models. In this example, this model for user, it has an ID that is an integer, and its default auto increment created at that default is now role, that is a connection to the role num. So this means that it can be just only one or the other. And post is a post array that is actually identified through the post model itself. So we will define a couple of elements, and we will be doing the different connections to those particular elements here. So let me just, having that as an example, let's do some particular changes right here. So the first thing that I want to do a model for company. And we need to specify with the word model, the name of the model itself, and the curly brackets. Now, probably if you don't see this, and I was missing that, we need to go to the extensions. We need to look for Prisma. If we look for Prisma, you need to install this one, the official one, and that will add the syntax highlighting, formatting, auto completion, jump to definition, and other elements to help us work in a Prisma database, in Prisma schema. That's why I have this error that is actually telling me that it cannot be empty. So let's start with the company one. And of course, the way that it actually works is we need to put the column name. Let's call the first column ID. And then we specify the type of information there. I want to do a string. And then I need to do some constraints if we want to put some constraints in there. So let's put it at ID. This will be my particular ID. And by default, that means it want to be auto-generated for me. You can see that auto-completion is created right away. I will do UID for my company. And then I just have name as a string. And that's it. Simple as that is. We will have another one, model, and let's call this department. And will be, and actually I have my arrow completion already. So I have my ID, the string, my default UID, and my name, that is this is going to be a string as it is. My company ID, there will be a string too, because the company ID is a string itself, so I need to have that to have the relationship working. But later, I can actually, and these are going to be the elements that will be inside the table. I'm telling also that I will have a company object, and that company object will go to the company model, and I'm telling it that the relationship, in order to pull up that data, in order to make the selection statement, we may field company ID reference to the ID of the foreign element itself. And probably in order to make it consistent, let's call this company ID and let's call this department ID. It will be depending on how you want to call it. Well, let's actually, in order to have the IDs the same across the board, and we have the unique IDs, remote naming. And then we have the employees with it's an array. Now the employee, that means a one-to-many element. That means that an employee can have only one department, but one department can have many employees. That's pretty much what we're telling it here. But right now it's complaining because employees doesn't exist. Now we call our API person. So let me just start calling. Let's keep as an employee. I think it's a better name. So let's keep that one. Let me save it. It got auto-formatted for myself. And let's do a last model. And we have that one right here. We have an employee. And that we have the name. And then through the name, we just have the department ID that is automatically integrated. And we have the relationship to get the department ID through the department ID itself. And that's it. Those will be the three different tables and the different relationships that we'll have. So the employee, we have a relationship with one-to-many. In the department, actually one-to-many department to employee, and where an employee can have only one department and a department can have multiple employees. And then we have a one-to-one relationship between actually something similar, company, departments, multiple departments, and we have a department can have only one company itself. So that's the traditional relationship through different tables, through different models. And with those three different models, we can actually move forward and continue working. So let me open my terminal. My terminal just closed. And let me show you something that probably I didn't showcase before. When I open my terminal and it open, I can see right here that I have a second one because I didn't close the other one. And so sometimes we have several terminals there. Let me just delete one. So just keep, I would like to keep only one terminal. It is. So now I can actually do something really cool. npx Prisma migrate initial. So this command npx will execute the migration. This is just for the development environment. And we're going to make a call called initial. This is what we're going to be doing. It's going to be connected to a database. It will be creating the three different tables that we need. And then we'll make those relationships as supposed to. Let me, before execute, let me get back to my Prisma, and we can see that in my Prisma folder, I just have my schema Prisma file. So let me execute this. We'll wait for a couple of minutes. If everything is okay, and if we actually had it open correctly, the port, and we're able to go through a database and do what we're supposed to be doing, it's going to take a couple of minutes. We will read it. It will make the migration. Database is in sync. It will make the connection, and done. And now it says that we can actually use the Prisma client to continue working with that particular migration. So this what it did is it created a migration. In reality, or initial migration is a SQL file. That SQL file, what it did is just created a table company with the constraints that we have here. It created a table department with the constraint department ID. You can see the company ID text not null there. And we created a table employee. We just with the name. We will add the fields later, but for now, let's keep as it is. And then added the foreign keys, where department at constraint, department company field key with the company ID, and employee with the department ID. So all these SQL statements were created automatically for us. Let's actually open our pgadmin and verify that everything is in place. So if we open pgadmin, we can actually see in our tables or database, we have the company, department, and employee. This is the query in order to see the schema. This is how PostgreSQL works. Select everything from information schema.columns, where table name equal and the name of the table. We can see that the company has company ID and name. Department has department. There you go. Has department ID, name, and company ID. Employee has, oops, there you go. Employee ID, name, and the department ID. So we can actually see that. We can open this schema here, and we can actually see the columns. We need to verify, and we can see the constraint, the company primary key constraint. There. Let's open the department one. We have the department primary key, and we have the company because it's linked to that one. So it's some other constraints that we need to be adding or be creating in our app itself. So that's pretty cool. So let's work a little bit in code to add data through the API in our database itself. And before we continue, let me show you one last thing. And this is actually about the migration. We can see that the employee only have the name there. Let me add the email and another tables, sorry, columns that I would like to have here too. So let me open my code and I will go to my schema Prisma and I want to add to my company these control columns, to all of them. Created at is just to have a default as now and the updated at in order to know, and this is a little more for as a best practice to see when some record was created and when that record was updated. And Prisma have those by default with the updated at, and the created at we can actually see just be a default as today. I also would like to have email here as a string. Let me save it. And that should be it. And let's do something extra with my email. Let me do that this email should be unique. I don't want the email to be copied several times. Now with that, I can actually open my terminal. And again, it just happened that because I just closed it where it's not supposed to be. And let's do npx Prisma migration new fields. Let's call it new. I'm not sure you can do this. New fields. Okay, it's going to be connecting. We wait for a couple of minutes to actually replicate those. What I'm going to be doing now is going to be modifying those particular tables. And we can see we have a constraint ID will be added. The resisting duplicated values, it will fail because we actually tell it that employee email should be unique. Now, we know in this particular case, we don't have unique emails. So that's okay, we can proceed because we don't have data there. So let's put it yes. And it run, and it created for us. We have a new migration. And we can see the migration, we have the new one, it's over here. And we can sell the second migration, what it did, alters my company to add the created at as updated at, department, added that one and updated at, and the employee added the email, the created at and updated at. And then we have another constraint, unique index for the email, because that email cannot be repeated. So all that information actually get refreshed through here. So we can actually query my employee data, and we should be more columns now. And created at, by default, we have the current timestamp. So that simple way, in order to make a modification, we're able to do that. Now, when we have data in our table, sometimes those modifications doesn't go properly. That's why it's better to do in a development environment when you can actually clear everything up and start over. But that's a simple, really simple way where we're able to publish a different information. So let's insert, in this particular case, let's go to, let me think how we can actually do it. To company. Yeah, the company ID is not a default, but it is a default through our application itself. So let's actually create the company endpoint and let's working with that particular area. So let's close this. Let's add everything there and add it Prisma and the tables. Let's commit. I will think later. Now that I have that, I can actually start working with my particular model and my different routes. So let me open my source routes, and we'll have the persons endpoint, and we will mimic this one, but instead of person, we're going to be using employee and company. So let's actually do a new file. Let's call this companies, and it's a best practice to have the endpoints in plural. Right? And let's do import companies from companies, and let's do the same. Oops. Companies. Let's have the same route. And let's start working with this one. Let me put my person to the right. And let's do a simple import router. I'm just putting my person here just to copy over a couple of things. And let's do router equal router. And at the end, I need to export that. So right now, I will be really, really simple. I will just want to create my router.get, my basic endpoint. And I will be doing something here about my request response. And I will be responding response. And actually, what I'm missing here. Oh, yes. This one. Okay. Those companies equal. Let's put a null for now. And then we just respond.send my companies. We will have something like this, like really, really work. And right now we should be receiving a null object. Let me open here. Let's do npm run that to make it work. Port in 3000. Boom. We should be able. We are re-imported in the index. Yes, in the index for the APIs. Cool. That means that we can be able to go to the Thunder client, and we should be able to go to the companies. And it's responding with null. We don't have anything there, but it's actually working. So the endpoint is doing what it's supposed to. So let's work a little bit with the model for the companies. And this is the one that will be a little more tricky here. Let's open our terminal again, and I need to remember how to open this. We're going to be installing npm install, and we can use just I as a shortcut. This from npm install, not as a development environment dependency, as a production dependency. We will install add Prisma /client in order to utilize that particular client. What is really cool about this is that we will read our Prisma objects and we'll know exactly what elements we are talking about and we are actually using. We can, after we have that installed, we can actually do exit in order to actually close it the way it's supposed to. And I can do a simple import from at Prisma client. I'm going to import something from here. And we import our Prisma client itself. So let's do a simple const Prisma equal a new Prisma. We can I like it to actually call a database. A new Prisma client. And then we can actually do different elements here. Something probably that we can actually use. We can do export const. And probably we can do export default new Prisma client. Let's actually put all these lines and let's do on utils, new file, database.javascript. And let's do it like that because this will be repetitive over and over. That way we just get the same connection string. And now from here, we just need to import database from utils database, right? And now we can actually do something const get companies equal an asynchronous function. Every time that we go to the database should be asynchronous. It takes time to actually read that. So asynchronous function that will return as simple as database dot company dot find money. And we have it right here. And that's it. As simple as that. We're just making a call to get the companies, and we're going to get the database element, the company object, so that's the model, in order to find it, and export default. Let's export get companies from there. Cool. Actually, I like this. Wait, let me put database as this, and let's put export default. Let's do cv equal that, and export default db. There you go. Didn't like it. Export default db. I don't know why I didn't like it. There's only one? Yes, because only one. That's okay. So we have that one as it is. That means that we can go to route companies. We can open that and we can import and we call it here for a minute from, let's get another level back, models company, and you're going to get company. It's failing because right now it's the only one. So let's actually put it like this. And we can actually do companies equal. So wait, we need to wait to actually get my companies. This will return the find money from the company itself. Now, because this is an await and we're inside a function, that means that our request should be asynchronous. With this case, we should be able to actually go read the database and get the companies. Right now, we don't have any, but it should be working. So let's actually make the call. Let's send it. And we have an issue with the connection, of course. So let's see what happened with the connection itself. Ooh, didn't like it. Company default probably was already broken. Restart, RS to restart the server without closing it. Let's try it one more time. No, I didn't like it. And what is the issue here? Company's default. And this actually came from companies, root company, JavaScript, line 21. What I'm doing in the root, this is the model. Line 21 is not there. So that this one is not a function. Well, actually it is. Only because of this. Not sure. Okay, it's running again. No, it's not. We have the authorization. We have the same endpoint that we already had before. Let me try. Error. Connection was reset by server. Companies is not a function. So I'm having an issue with the export, more likely. So let me work with my model. And let me remove this section from here. Let's do export cons, that one. And let's do the second one. So get companies in plural and get company in singular. And in the ID, we'll get the unique where the ID is equal to the ID itself. And now we have exported both of them. Let me see here. Get companies. No there. It is. Do I have a typo? No, it doesn't have a typo. I don't have a typo. Let me see, my server just restarted. Yeah, more likely it was something that I just how I had it. So let me get the on the client. It's right here. We send it. Connection was forcibly closed by a peer. What is actually happening here? Let me get that in a minute. Okay, I found my issue. Let me get again the companies. You can see now we're receiving an empty array. That means that we're actually looking at the database. The database is empty. That's why we don't have anything there. And it's responding without data. So my problem was actually really simple. It was in my database. Here, in util, I actually needed to do the export default new Prisma client. That way we can import it from util's database and we just utilize it the way that it's supposed to be. Let's do another export cons create company. I'll actually call it add company. And let's see if my autocomplete actually find it. Let's do asynchronous. And we need to send the name. That's the only thing that we need to do. And we're going to database dot company dot create, I believe. We can actually create several, but we can actually create one. And then we can actually do where my data, if to send as an object, my data will be my name. Something like this, because the company just have a name. That should be enough. So let's go to the root. This is what we're telling we can create. We're going to send the data itself in order to be the data object. This data object is just a string. So we're making the name of the column equal to the name of the variable that we're sending. This is EA6. In reality, this object is something like this. But because the variable and the key have the same name, we can have this kind of shortcut. And then through that particular data when we create a company. So let's get back to our company here. Let me open my... No, let's keep it there. Let's do router.get. Let's do... And then through the ID, synchronous. Let's actually import it. Get company. And let's import add company. So synchronous, my request response. And we're going to be doing something with that particular information. Let me open it here. And what we need to be doing here will be simple const company equal await get company, and need to be sending the ID itself. We can see that ID will be the parameter that we have right here. So we actually will be sending the request .params.id, and then if company exists, we're going to be doing a couple of stuff. If it exists, we just send it. If it doesn't exist, we need to respond company not found with the status 44. Let's test that one. Of course, I also like it. Let's go this one. So let's try this one. Yeah, it's there. And we try this one. Doesn't exist. It actually should give us a 404. Didn't like that the ID was that particular string. No argument ID. Oh, wait. Yes, ID doesn't exist. My company table actually have company ID as an ID, no the ID itself. That's why it's actually complaining. I'm so sorry for that. So let's go here. So this actually is company ID. My company ID will be the ID that I'm actually sending here. Yeah, that should be it. The server starter, perfect. Now we can see, oops, here, if I send it again, company not found, or 4. That company doesn't exist. And okay, empty, perfect. That means now that we're using this one and get company, we can actually use the add company one. It will be a simple post request. Propose asynchronous, of course, in the root, the request response. And we're going to get the body name, and we're going to be sending that. I like it. And then we just send that particular company. Of course, we need to do some kind of validation. So let's do const company name equal request body, and let's put it this like this. And then we actually need to send it the company name. Well, we're going to be sending only if company name exists. We send it. If it's not, we'll do simple else. And company name is required or something like that. We just do a simple validation. And 400 is server error, like request error. So we do a simple request, get, and let's do the post. Now, everything is already protected with our middleware, because we actually put that across the board. Like every call needs to be already protected through the API. through the simple credentials. So let's go back here. Let's do post to the company. Let me send the body. And let's do the name. Let's call it Cool Company. Wait, it's done. Now we have a really cool company there with that particular ID. Let's call another one, another. And let's send it. Cool. And let's do a tier one. Let's call this, I don't know, Axme, whatever. And we just created 3 different ones. If we send something that doesn't have name or whatever, we send it, company name is required. As request. If we don't send anything, we have exactly the same. So we're able to create companies now. That means if I do a GET request with all the companies, I have the 3 of them coming right away. Let me get this particular ID. Let me just copy over. If I make that request with that particular ID, I just get the Axme company. And all this information is actually coming from our database. I can do simple select, everything from company. From company. Really? Company. Let me see if my error complete actually works. Company. There you go. It should be with the double quotes. And I get my 3 different companies with the 3 different company IDs right there. How cool is this? So now, let me show you how can we create a particular department for that particular company. And that will be with a nested call. That's pretty neat. So let's do, I will not delete companies, is overstated, and I will not update it either. I just created those and should be there. So let's keep as it is. Let's add companies. Oops, I need to send it and commit. Perfect. I will get back to my companies. And I will do a new model. And will be really similar. So let me actually copy this. And I will create a new model called departments.js. I will copy the same, but I will find and replace every company with the department. This should be uppercase. This should be an uppercase, and it will be get departments. Almost there. And we need to have here the company ID. We need to be sending the name and the company ID itself. Cool. That will be the only difference, I think. Database department, find many, get department with that particular ID. With department ID is the ID that I'm sending. And when I add a department, I need to send the name and the company where it belongs to. And that's the data that will be sending through here. Okay. I think that's pretty much what we need. Let me just get back to my query. Let me do department. And we just need to get the company, the name, and the company ID. The ID, the created ad and updated ad will be automatically by the system. So we just need to send pretty much these two. And of course, the company ID should be something that is already there. So how can I actually make sure that we're able to do that? Really, really simple. Oops. Let me minimize this. We have the departments model already. And we're keeping it really simple. Let's go to we can actually do the route for departments if we want it, right? But I will not go into that. I will use actually the company's route because I will do a nesting element here. I'm of course, probably we need to create a new file in order to make the nesting, but I will keep it here just for simplicity. It will be something really simple like this one. So let's do another post. But now the post will be with what particular ID? So what I'm going to do here, I will be sending just the name of the department, but with the company ID already defined. So what I need to be doing here is going to be really simple. Look at this. So if I'm posting a company with a particular ID, I need to verify if that company exists. So the const company equal wait get company with my request dot params dot id, and we can actually do something simple just to have a here company id, and let's do a simple const company id equal that, right? And we get the company. If the company exists, then we can proceed. It will be something like this. It will be department name equal request body name, and let's send this up. If the company exists, we want to set the department name, and then if that department name exists, we want to create it. The department. And we need to be importing those through here. Let me just get this, and let me departments. And probably I need to change this tree to the department. There you go. Get department is in plural. Okay. Actually, get department, we don't need it for now. But yes. And that's how we call it. Departments. We call it get department, add department, and get departments in plural. Yes. So if we're posting with the company ID, we verify that company exists. If that company exists, we want to verify the department name. If that department name exists, we want to do add department with my department name. Then the second argument that I need to be sending here, and we can actually do, let me do it through here, let me go to space. Let me remove this one because I think we just need a department. Able to resolve models department. It is not where it's supposed to be. Models, department. Hmm. Let me try this. Yeah, 1, 2, models, department. Okay, somehow didn't like it. Don't know what happened there. So now we do the const department equal await at department, and we do here on the hover over. We need to send the name and the company ID. The name will be this one, and my company ID will be the company ID that we know that already exists, right? And we're going to be sending the department back, right? If the department name is not there, we need to tell the department name is required. And if company doesn't exist, we can actually send it through here. Company does not exist. As simple as that. So I think that's it. A little more complicated, so let me try to go through the process a little bit. What we're doing. We're getting the parameter ID for the company ID. They find that that company exists with the get companies. With company. This is singular, company. With the ID, perfect. And then, if that company exists, we're going to verify that the body name is there. If that body name is there, we're going to try to add it. As simple as that. And send that back. If not, if that name is not there, we're going to say the department name is required. And the other else statement that is outside here is if the company doesn't exist, it's pretty much sending that company doesn't exist. So that should be more than enough. It's a little more complex, but it's, yeah, let's actually see it work. So we saw it that when we do a send request with that particular ID, we can actually get that particular company. That means this company exists. So let me change this element to a post with an ID, and I will send a new element. Let's call it name. Let's call it technology. Technology. Probably I'm misspelling. I don't know. But let me try it to see if that actually works. And done. Excellent. We're able to save it because the company ID exists. So let's actually do another one. Let's call it finance. And we create another department for finance. Let me change this to a GET request for that particular company. And we just get that particular information there. Pretty cool, right? We can actually do, how can we actually verify or we can actually send the information that we actually need? What I like to do is whenever I do a particular company, I would like to get all the department that belongs to that particular company itself. Let me get all of them. You get a tree. I want to have Axmed to have companies, or sorry, departments, and have a nested array for that particular department that are being saved there. Can we do that? Of course we can. Let me show you how to do that relationship in Prisma. So the way to do it is through the different components or the element for Prisma. So let me get the Prisma documentation to show you that. That's it's really simple to go, just to go to documents and get it started. And so we have the concept reference guys concept there. So Prisma schema is where we actually saw different elements, and we can actually see the relationship about one-to-one, one-to-many. If we want to read a little more in order to accommodate for the data that we needed. And for the Prisma client, that's the one that we're using in the API, we can actually see the relationship queries. We can actually do select fields. That means that if we have something like this, we can actually select, just give me these particular tables, or columns for this particular table, and it give you like subset of the data. Let's print it. But no, it's not what we're looking at. We're actually looking relationship queries. And it's something really cool that's with the word, whenever we find something, we just add the include and the name of the relationship there as a true. And that's it. So we should be able, and I didn't try this yet, but we should be able, and let's actually get the departments plural as it is. But the unique one, we can actually tell it, and let me open my Prisma model on the right. So we have my word statement here, perfect. And then I can open another one, and I can do the include. And this will include different elements that we can actually add. And what I want to include here for my department, I want to include my company. Actually, it's the other way around. So sorry. It's actually in the company side. Company model. There you go. We have the word statement. We finish the word statement. And then you can actually do another object here. We can just include departments true. Something like that. Should be more than enough. Only when we get one particular company, not when we get all the companies itself. Let's use server or server starter. We're supposed to. And we should be able, now let me close my schema. And because we're just making the department true. Probably it should not be department, should be department. Should be department. Because we actually call it department in singular. Oh, well, let's see how it works. So we get all of them, we should be fine. When we get one particular one, let's see what happened there. Yeah, it's not working because we don't call it departments. We call it department in singular. And probably something that we need to fix there. Send it. Ooh, it's not coming in. Why is not coming? We're calling that particular one. And it should be getting. We should be able to. To get that. Let me see. Let me close it. Let me run it again. Just in case. It's not doing it. So let me verify what I'm doing wrong there. Okay, I found out what was the issue. I just clear up and let me show you. It's still doing this. Okay. Let me show you how to solve this. I'm sorry, I didn't read the documentation properly for this particular area. So on the relation queries, what we should be including is the where statement and the include statement. What we have here, we have one object, we have the where and include keys. And each one of those are different objects. Include is an object and where is an object. The way that I had it here is that I open it and I close it outside the where, and then I create another object here. So this should not be like this. So we can need to delete this one over here, and these three lines we need to put it at the same level as the where and save it. Now, in order to keep consistency on the names, I call these departments in plural, but lowercase. And on my model, and actually can show that in my Prisma model, I just change these departments to be in lowercase with the S and the N, just for the company itself. We don't need to migrate it again because this department is actually not part of the table of company table. It's just a relationship that we have here that it belongs to. That's it. So with those little changes, departments, just to keep the consistency on the name, right? The where and include should be on the same level. They were in like two different, we're not working. So that way, if I make the call to get the Acme company, I can get departments and I can get the department information right there. It's pretty cool. Let me get the call to all the companies. I just get the main company information. And when I want to get the details of one particular one, I can get those details for those particular department. And I think that should be enough for today. The video is already over an hour. I will keep it like it is. Let me hold this and I will cut added department creation. So if I will sync my changes, it will be doing something different to my server. Let's go to the dashboard. Let's go to our, where is it? My backend directory API right here. So this one, what we'll try to do, we will try to deploy it, server's running, but it's actually not running the way it's supposed to be. Let me just remember where I put my URL. Yes, this one. So if I try to make the call here and make the same company, actually will fail as a not found, as an error, because we have an issue with this particular endpoint. And what is? We don't have the database connection. Let me get all the companies who have bad gateway. Companies are not there. And that's actually in reality, bad way it means that we have error on the server side. Let's go to see the logs of the application. We see there that we have an issue with the compilation. What is the issue? Our connection string is not there. So we need to bring that in. And it's going to be a little bit different as the one that we have in development environment. We're a little more secure. So we just need to put the database URL. Let's get the name. Let me just add it for now. That's an empty. Let's do an X value and just add it. Database URL. I need to upgrade this to the real connection string. What is going to be my connection string? Well, that should be really similar as the one that we have for the PG admin. Let me get back to my dashboard. Let me get to my PostgreSQL. Let me get the connection string. like copy this over. I will open my dashboard in a new tab to keep this open. I will go to my directory API, secrets. My database URL will change, and I paste all that. But there's two different elements I need to change here. One will be my port. It's not going to be 9000 anymore because we are inside the server. That means we should be able to do the official port is 5432, and my host name, instead of NUP, we actually have this host name over here. Let's paste that there. So this change, and probably you weren't able to see it right here. Let me just copy everything here and put it here. So we have the PostgreSQL username, password, at the host name, 5432, the official, and the database. Let's do a set. And let's do build deploy, force redeploy. Let's see how it works. Degraded, we have another issue. Let me see what happened there. Oh my god, let me check this. Give me a second. Okay, yeah, again, my bad. So when we have the development environment and we did the Prisma migrate, what it does, it creates some element inside the node module for Prisma where it identifies the different tables and put those tables in to be able to use the client that it's supposed to. So I don't have the logs anymore, the old one, but I thought that I have an issue with the Prisma migrate. So what we need to do here, after we do the build and before we run the app, we actually need to do the migration again. We need to do the Prisma migrate, but without specifying any name. That's what it means. We're telling the application to go look at the database and just make the relationship between the tables and the object. That's it. In order to enable that, of course, after we already have the secret for the database URL, I created in my package JSON, and you will see that on the repository, a new script called post build. Something that I didn't mention before. Those scripts are the different areas that we can actually run. Like we usually do the npm run dev, right, in the development environment. And for whenever we deploy, we do the npm run build and then npm run start. We're doing that in this particular case in the Docker file. But there's some script that I actually call pre something and post something. Whenever we call something pre whatever, it's going to run before that particular script we have here. So in this case, I created a post build. I mean, whenever I execute npm run build, automatically after that, this one is going to be generated. That's it. As simple as that. So we just do generate pretty much like to introspect the database itself. So after doing that and deploying it, the application started to build again one more time. And I have right here, this one. And then the logs, everything looks fine. What I did, just make a call with the API, my server name, with that particular company ID, and I will able to get the same data because I'm actually connecting to the database. Now, that's pretty neat. If we get all the companies, I can get all the companies from there. Pretty cool. I will stop the video now. It's over an hour and 50 minutes for now. And I will share this repository. What I will need you to do is just to create another endpoint called departments. And the only things that I want is to get all the departments, then the department ID to get the department by ID, and that's it. I don't need to post department just in order to save a particular department somewhere. Let's just create that department endpoint, and that should be it for the assignment for this week. Next one, we're going to be doing the employee area. We're going to be tagging all the information in, and we will be talking about pagination in order to make calls, particular elements, and how to make those calls work the way it's supposed to. And why pagination? Because on week 14, I believe, we're going to be doing the directory connection. That directory connection will be using the pagination in order to pull data from the database through two different pages that help you when we have a lot of information in our database itself. So for now, I really hope that you like it. Any question, any doubt? Don't hesitate to reach me. Happy coding, everybody.